Hello, I'm Dragon Blitz, and this is a Symphony of the Night speedrun for the any percent run for Castlevania Symphony of the Night using the luck mode name code. That is this name code that is being shown on screen right here. By inputting this name code, it changes Alucard's starting stats once you get past the prologue to be very, very low. They're very weak. Outside of your luck stat, which is at a very high 99. Funny enough, the luck stat actually isn't useful. Having the high luck stat doesn't actually help in the speedrun. In fact, most of the time it's detrimental to the speedrun, but having the lowered stats is actually the more useful part. So before we get to that, we have to start the run as Richter here. As Richter, you just try and get through the prologue as fast as possible using Hydro Storms and Holy Waters to defeat Dracula quickly. If you get lucky, you can get a glitch to happen called a damage stack, which kills Dracula even faster than normal. And those damage stacks can be very, very useful for the luck mode version of this run, because the entirety of the luck mode, the reason we're playing in luck mode is because the start of this run has the potential to be about a minute faster in luck mode compared to the standard speedrun of the game. But in order to do that, you have to essentially hit a cycle in the later parts of the run, the clock room, at a certain point, and the range to do so is very low. So this is why having those lowered stats matters, because you're able to damage boost like this. This is called a big toss. Anytime you take more than half of your total HP in a single hit, you get sent flying across the room until you either hit a wall or a ceiling. So this movement technique allowed for this faster cycle to exist in the first place. The other thing it allows you to do is the classic death skip. This has been known about since like 2002 or something like that. It's probably the classic way that most people remember skipping past death and keeping all of their powerful starting gear, which is one of the reasons why it's a very useful tech for this speedrun as well. But not only that, it allows us to move very, very quickly. The other thing that's important to note about this speedrun is we actually skipped the very first relic of the game, the Cube of Zoe. That relic allows for items to spawn from candles. We will not be seeing any items from candles in the entirety of this run, for the reason that it doesn't actually save time over the course of the run. One of the other things that's important about the speedrun is just the general movement that you get access to in this game. So you're going to see me constantly do backdashes and backdash cancels. So with the shield, you can pull up the shield to cancel a backdash and then start another backdash afterwards. This is called shield dashing. Doing this over and over again is faster than just normally just backdashing on its own or walking. It's much faster than walking. The other thing that's important about the speedrun is just like general platforming, cutting your jump short. The way that the jumps work in this game is that the longer you press the jump button, the higher you jump, the more you hang in the air. It's important to cut those jumps short so that way you can start jumping again quicker. The other thing that's important about this speedrun is just our damage is very, very high. Generally, because we have all that starting gear, but it's not as high as it could be if we were playing in standard mode. So some of the boss fights are a little bit longer than they would be in standard mode because of this, but all of the time we save from that big toss movement is the thing that allows us to potentially get that faster clock cycle. So everything that's happening here is we are on a timer to try and get to the central clock room in under 7 minutes. So long as there is a 6 on the minute digit in the in-game timer, the ability to pass to the next section of the game towards Alrox's quarters is available to us. So I'm going to make note of that here in just a second as we get to the room that I'm talking about that matters so much for the speedrun. So just has to very carefully navigate through these enemies. And in this room, in the top left-hand corner, there is a statue that moves in and out of your way. You're going to see it move right there. That always happens during that cutscene as kind of like a hint to tell you to come back here later and the statue is going to move. But we need to get back there in under 7 minutes in order to save that entire minute on the clock cycle. So this is like the key time save that has been found in this run in like the last nearly 15 years. The route has been pretty much the same since about 2015. All of the optimizations have just come from like small optimizations in specific rooms or just moving faster with the character. There hasn't been a big time save in a very, very long time in this route, and this is essentially it. So playing in luck mode is like a big change in the way that the game gets played nowadays. The other thing that is like a minor discovery that happened not too long ago is it was actually found to be faster to play the game with the music off. This can be done by essentially, since this is being played on the Xbox version of the game, the Xbox 360 version, if you have music playing on the Xbox dashboard and then you mute that music, it also mutes the in-game music for all the games that you play that have that function available. Symphony of the Night is one of those games that you can mute the music, presumably to listen to your own music while you play the game. But by muting the music, all of the menus in the game go quite a bit faster. This boss fight here versus Doppelganger is one of those other boss fights that's quite a bit slower in luck mode, and it puts more pressure on the run because of that. But normally you would have the Cube of Zoe available, and you would have the stopwatch available. You use the stopwatch, it freezes that guy in place, and you just slash him until he's dead. Here, we wouldn't have enough hearts to use the stopwatch, so it's not worth picking up the Cube of Zoe or using the stopwatch, because our level is low enough that we don't even have enough hearts to use the sub-weapon at all. So here we're getting the first relic of the run that we actually need. This being the Soul of Wolf relic. I'm going to try and go for a floor clip here to see if I can get it a little bit faster, a little bit off there. It is frame perfect after all. It saves like 2 seconds to get. But after acquiring the Soul of Wolf relic, this is useful for some movement options, but one of the weird things that it allows you to do in this game is it gives you access to a dive kick mid-air, and it also allows you to do like boosted wolf jumps up slope. So I'm going to be doing that right here to grab this garnet item. This is a sellable gem that'll be useful for later on in the run. It'll be used for a glitch to essentially get infinite money later. The other thing with the wolf relic is, for whatever reason, in the game, if you transform into any of the transformations, either wolf, bat, or mist, and then untransform mid-air, the game allows you to dive kick out of that untransformation once you transform back into Alucard form. You don't normally get access to a dive kick unless you have the Leapstone relic, which is the double jump ability. So being able to dive kick off of stuff is very useful for gaining a little bit extra height, and we're going to be using that to essentially do a very, very famous sequence break here, getting into the Aurochs' quarters early without accessing so much of the other parts of the castle. In like a casual sense, this saves like 15 minutes or something like that. It's a very big sequence break with not a whole lot of pizzazz behind it. So yeah, here I just barely make the cycle. It's a pretty tight cycle, but it is under 7 minutes. Dive kick off of that candle, and just like that, that is a whole minute of time save over the previous route playing in standard mode. And it just comes down to very, very strong execution. Previously, what would happen there is you would play pretty okay throughout that clock rush section, is what we call it, getting back to that clock room, and you would get there in like 7 minutes and 15 seconds. And then you're just stuck there waiting for another 45 seconds, waiting for the clock to move out of your way. So obviously that's not ideal for a speedrun, but nobody was able to get to the clock room fast enough to skip that sequence until using luck mode, until I figured out that using luck mode saves just enough time to make it possible. Here, I'm essentially dodging certain enemies and killing specific enemies to set up my experience values such that I can minimize the number of level up animations that I see throughout the run. This is kind of like a secret thing that's happening in the background all the time in the speedrun, is the enemies that are killed or not killed are all completely scripted out, so I know exactly when my level ups happen. Especially in the later parts of the run. When you get to the second castle, if you don't set up your experience properly, you're going to see an extra 3 level up animations at the end of the run, and each level up animation is about 2 seconds of time loss, so you save 6 seconds by doing the proper experience route here. The whole reason that we do this route in particular, and one of the reasons why this route has been so strong for so long, is you minimize a lot of the fat of the run. You don't get unnecessary things. You just get exactly what you need and you go, which makes sense for an any % run. We grabbed the Form of Mist relic, which is very useful for moving Alucard in specific ways, but more importantly, it allows you to get past mist gates. And mist gates are essentially a one-time barrier in this run to get the Soul of Bat relic, which is the most important relic of the game. But before all of that, I do go out of my way to get the Fairy Familiar. This Fairy card relic allows you to summon the fairy, and the only thing she's really useful for in this run is she's able to talk. She speaks a voice line. And by interrupting that voice line with a cutscene here with the librarian, it completely breaks the game. It allows you to open the menu when you wouldn't normally be able to. So I am able to go to the sell icon, or the sell part of the shop menu, and open the menu at the same time. So I'm able to sell an item out of my inventory whilst equipping it. That lowers the amount of available items I have in my inventory from 1 to 0, and I minus 1 from 0 by selling it. That underflows the amount of items that I have, allowing me to sell as many garnets as I need to get essentially infinite money. I use that infinite money for the best item in the game, the duplicator. It allows me to throw infinite items, any item that is normally a single time use, like a potion or like a throwing weapon. those are now infinite for me, which is very, very useful. The most important of those items being the Buffalo Stars. Those are like ninja throwing stars, and the Mana Prism. It's a potion that gives you a brief period of invincibility and fully restores your mana to full, which is going to be very useful for this next section, because once we get the Soul of Bat Relic, we're going to be using a lot of mana throughout the run in order to move much faster than normal, using a Wing Smash spell. It costs 8 MP per cast, and you're going to see me use it basically right away. So we grab the Soul of Bat, and I set up here to try and get past this Mist Gate very quickly, alongside Wing Smashing to this position to go for a Floor Clip. This Floor Clip is like triple frame perfect. I'm using the map to help buffer my inputs to set up for that triple frame perfect Floor Clip. This movement saves about 6 seconds over just leaving the room normally. So in a world record situation, you obviously go for it. But 3 frame perfect inputs in a row in order to get 6 seconds of time save is quite difficult. But very, very awesome. Honestly, it's one of the things that I love about this video game is how technical the speedrun can be if you want to just eke out the tiniest bits of time save, versus if you just want to kind of play it safe. You can go for more safe strats that lose just a little bit of time over world record strats. And now that we have the Soul of Bat Relic, we are essentially in go mode, if you want to think of it that way. There is nothing stopping us from getting to the end of the game except for moving through the castle and boss fights, because we have glitches available to us that will allow us to get past any barriers that the developers put in our way. So you're going to be seeing me do a lot of Wing Smashing throughout this run. The thing that's cool about Wing Smashing, in my opinion, is it's a very technical input. In order to even start the Wing Smash spell, you have to hold the jump button, do a 3/4 circle motion on the control stick, and then release the jump button. And you have to do that over and over again to continue these Wing Smash chains. Not only that, you can change the angle of the Wing Smash by holding up or down. So you have to manage holding up and down to do vertical Wing Smashes, like moving up into the left or down into the left. And on top of that, manage your actual Wing Smash input itself, because if you don't do the input once every second, you get forcibly ejected from the Wing Smash animation. It's very, very cool. Here, this is Richter Skip. That little funky jump you saw me do there in wolf form essentially allowed me to enter the room undetected by this hitbox that is essentially trying to tell the game, if you are in this room, load in the fight with Richter. But by jumping past that like hitbox, we essentially entered the default version of that room, which conveniently enough is the version of the room where Richter has already been saved. So it allows you to enter the second castle without having to do this whole side quest of getting the gold ring, the silver ring, the holy glasses, and then saving him. So that like skip alone saves so much time. And there's a bunch of different ways to skip past Richter. That happens to be the fastest one, but it's also incredibly precise and very difficult to perform, especially first try. Here's even more boss fights here. This is the Medusa boss fight. Normally she drops a relic that is required for beating the game. These are the Vlad relics, but we're going to be performing a glitch called the Relic Skip, which essentially allows us to get to the very end of the game without any of those Vlad relics. And it skips 4 different boss fights and a bunch of movement throughout the castle. The other thing that's fun about moving in this game is because we are playing with the bare minimum, there are a couple different movement options that you would normally have access to in a casual playthrough, like the double jump or gravity boots, which is this large vertical jump. We don't have access to any of that, so instead we have to rely on these Wing Smashes to get around quickly. So what we try and do is we try and use those Wing Smashes to gain vertical height in places that make sense, because Wing Smashing upwards is much faster than just flying straight up. So this room in particular, we use the Wing Smash to gain a little bit of height, since our goal is to get to this part of the room, and then Wing Smash to the left. We chain these Wing Smashes as much as we possibly can. Dive kick a little bit early there, get to the bottom of this room, and then exit out the reverse Coliseum. And now we're just a few short rooms away from the end of the game. The run goes by very, very quickly as soon as you get the Soul of Bat Relic. It is essentially a mad dash of Wing Smashes, refilling your MP whenever you can. And you can only refill your MP while in human form. So there's this constant push-pull of like, when am I allowed to refill my MP, because I can't do it while I'm Wing Smashing. It's an interesting like resource management that you have to deal with. And then here, that central clock room that we cared about at the very start of the run, we also have to worry about here at the very end of the run, because behind that clock room in the ceiling is the final boss fight. So here I'm setting up for a glitch called a reverse shift line. Essentially, you are underflowing your X position by freezing the screen in a particular way. This allows you to warp an entire screen length forward, and by doing so in this particular spot, it warps you into the ceiling. And then you can then fly across the ceiling to skip past that barrier where the clock room would normally open up. And that saves a ton of time from having to instead slowly fight the 4 other bosses that have the 4 other Vlad relics, and then opening up the clock statue in this like slow animation that costs like 30 seconds. And here we are on the final boss fight here. One last menu where I'm going to take off the mana prism. And I already did it, sorry. A menu to take off the mana prism and instead throw on a separate Buffalo Star onto my other hand. So the way that the game works is you can only have 3 items on screen per hand. Specifically the Buffalo Star, you can only have 3 on screen per hand. So the animation of throwing the star into an enemy, the Buffalo Star will kind of hang mid-air a little bit before it disappears once you hit an enemy with it. So in order to maximize your amount of damage, you actually need Buffalo Stars on each hand in order to essentially have 6 on screen at once instead of just the 3 on screen at once. And it essentially doubles your damage output. And here we're just kind of throwing as many stars as we can at Dracula while dodging his fists, going left, right, left. And very soon this is going to be time. And yeah, that's the Symphony of the Night any percent run. Before this luck mode optimization was found, the run was sitting at a 16-minute 26 time. The current world record is now 15:35, so quite a bit faster, and has potential to be even lower because there are still a couple of more like small optimizations left to be found in the run. But overall, very cool run, very fun, very fast, very technical. It's my favorite speedrun of all time. And yeah, thanks for watching. See you around. Bye-bye.